Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Coming to you on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphone so you can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. Can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And it's really an honor to bring back a beautiful human being, somebody who's played his life experiences on the drum kit. And actually, there is no drum kit. He's just playing himself and playing his heart and whatever's coming out of his limbs. And he's a major inspiration to, non-professional musicians and journalists and people because he's always trying to keep an upbeat attitude, elevated attitude, which is ultimately the purpose of my show as well, is to promote inspiration and allow people to be themselves. Johnny Vidacovich, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks a whole lot for having me back, Jake. I appreciate it. You always are an inspiration to me, whether I be reading of information, a source of inspiration, and an endless
well of enlightenment, endless well of enlightenment.
That's beautiful.
Well, listen, we've done so many. We've done like 8 interviews, me and you, and I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit different today, because I just think it's important to hear. It's not like Johnny V is on the bandstand. He's teaching. He's hanging out with his wife Deborah. They travel a lot, so it's not like he's reading my stuff more than he's listening to my archives, and that's the way a lot of people are. So I wanted to put this clip in for you. I want you to take a listen to it, and then you come back and riff on it.
All right.
Something that you could sonically refer to from the visualization of a spider web, which looks very fragile, but it is really strong. And you're all held together by that almost invisible feeling of the vibrations that you bring to each other. And the idea that you are concentrating your energy into your instrument and also very aware of everybody else surrounding. So there's that I came along before all of that was going on, before you passed around a real book on the iPhone, you know.
No, I mean, this is so the spider web. Go deeper on the web. This is where my show lies.
Well, I don't know. I just feel like there's this energy that has to pulsate between you and all the other people in the room. It's a communal effort to hang the music together, to listen for where somebody might have missed something and fill in, to use everything that's out there in space, in your space that you just created, to make the music happen as a unit. You know, it's not a singular endeavor. You're learning your instrument is a singular endeavor, but when you encounter other people in that experience, then it becomes very democratic. It's a communal effort to make the music sing, to make the music live, to get your message into the other people on the bandstand, and altogether that communal message goes out to the people. And they give it back to you in the energy that they feel from you. It's a continuum. I think the spider web it extends into your listening audience.
All right, Johnny. Thank you for listening for that. That was a woman named Bertha Hope, who was Elmo Hope's wife, and also, yeah, dude. And she's also a badass piano player in her own right, and playing with Dolphy and Bobby Hutcherson in these jam rooms late at night. Old school cat. And you know, when she talked about the spider web and I just kind of wanted you to talk about how that spider web feels to you, if that's an apropos statement, and was that something that when you first, even going back to the days of, you know, high school, or, you know, was there ever a leader you had that expressed that spider web ethos to you, or was that just naturally ingrained in you?
I think it's naturally ingrained in you, but I think that you need a leader, probably in most cases, probably up to 90% in most cases. And when you're young, I think, you know, you have different leaders through the way. But, you know, originally sometimes, I mean, it can be done alone, you know, but originally sometimes, you know, you'll meet in your early stages, and sometimes you'll meet someone who shows you or clicks the information to you some kind of way that you're connected to each other and you're connected to the people. You know, and it's sort of a circular thing, that energy goes when music's being played. You know, I use more of a circle as a description, but I think the web is very clear to me. I know exactly what she's talking about. She's just using different terminology.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean,
she's using a different example.
Johnny, you've played with all the cats. I mean, is that an African American ethos, or
hold on? She's using a different analogy description that is very important. You know, and okay, go ahead.
Yes, and so coming out of European classical music, which is meant to be played perfectly, you take instruction from a conductor. It's passionate, it can be emotive, but the spider web to some degree is lacking. So my question, whether it's the circle or the inner communication on the bandstand, is that an African American ethos in blues and jazz, or jazz rhythms? You've played with all the cats. Or does it?
No. I don't think it's limited to any category. I think it's a function.
Go ahead.
I think it's a very much a live scientific function that happens between the music being played, instruments, vibrations in the air, to an audience that receives and feels, and it touches them in an actual molecular way, and they actually feed you back in a molecular way, along the pathways of the spider web, because if you read about spiders, you'll find out that a spider web, and I just learned this a couple of days ago,
right.
A spider web is actually not just a web that the spider created to catch his food on, but it is actually part of his brain.
Really?
Yes. It's not just a web he weaves. It's part of his brain, and it's a map, and you should investigate this.
No, you're saying it's like actual it's actual genetic material. It's genetic material.
Totally fascinated with the way that the spider web works. It's part of his body, like it's his map, and he's receiving signals from it constantly, and he's giving signals to it constantly. It's part of him. It's part of his brain. It's a map. It's a diagram, and it's part of him. It's not just a web he weaves and then he goes to his web and gets what he wants and all of that. That's not the way it is. He's actually spreading out his brain. And anyway, the way, and I think getting back to music, I think it's very similar. Once the vibrations are created,
right,
or even thought about.
No, I think it's got to be created. I think it's got to be.
Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm not even thinking. So it don't make a difference. It don't make a difference. But the web starts to be created, between the musician, his brain, his hands and feet, the other guys in the band. There's some web starting there, and that web gets bigger, and it goes out to the people. And now you're using the web to not only put signals out to the people, play the music out to the people, but you getting back through the web the people's feelings and vibrations above a thought level, above a level that can be articulated. This is a level that I don't know how to articulate it.
Well, no, I'm going to try to.
I'm sure physicists would know.
Yeah, no. Let me come back. I mean, you're waxing poetic, but do you think it's a higher level, or is it about dropping to what I would call the primordial gut? When all of a sudden there's no thinking, you're not in your heart space. You're in what John Molo says, the primordial gut, which would mean maybe a higher state of consciousness. But you actually have to tap into something more, the multidimensional self.
Yes. Yes. It is that. It is that primary thing.
Yeah.
But because it's so hip,
right,
that the primary thing is there, which enables you to go levels and levels and levels higher. To talk about it or think about it or actually analyze it and realize how complicated, But I think the web, for me, can be looked at as a primary move with no brain activity because it's so natural to play a beat. I'm not thinking about the beat, No. But yet, on the other hand, you can sit down and look at that beat and analyze the hell out of it, what's happening with the beat in your hands and the vibrations and the sound waves that touch the listener, and then the listener's emotional response. You can keep talking about it and make it go higher and higher and level, but that's why I say simply complicated.
Simply complicated. Simply complicated.
Unreal. It's simple. If you
Holy
just start
cow.
at the bottom, it doesn't require any thinking at all. I just go boom, chakalaka, dang on the drums, and you dance and you dance and jiggle or move your head or your ass before you even think. So there's the primary part. Then we talk about all of the sound waves that are going not only within the musicians connecting to each other to make sure the stuff sounds good and make sure then it goes that those sound waves go out to the people through the web, so then it gets a little more complicated, right? So what is simple can be complicated, but it's a simple, complex, beautiful thing.
That's exact. It's the beauty of that simplicity and yeah.
Yeah, I think you said a word earlier that's pretty descriptive. Multi-dimensional.
The multi-dimensional self.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, you got me to that point, Johnny. You helped me get to that point where I was able to find that word and put it into my vernacular.
Yeah, you got it. You smart guy.
So now I'm going to play you a voice that you might know. So I want you to pay attention to this. And he's a buddy of yours, a guy you played with a lot. But that's as far as I'm going to go as far as clues, and then we'll come back.
Cool.
A lot of things happen in the early years of immature adulthood, but that changed me and affected me. At the time, I wasn't quite aware of what one thing or the other was going to, how it was going to affect me. But I can look back and I can see that one of the main things that I experienced for a long time was not being exposed to too much popular music right off the bat. In my late teens, traveling like that, I was exposed to everyday, not just folk music that you go, you buy an LP and you go home and it's like, okay, now I'm studying Appalachian stuff, or now I'm doing African drumming.
Right,
not like that.
Yeah.
You're in it, and there's a blind guy that's playing in 17. That's the meter. He's playing with one tambourine, singing on the streets of Luxor, and I'm like, what is? I stood there for a long time counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. 1, 2, 3. I'm like, he's playing in 17. That's insane. Well, the reason was that's the tradition. So that's just what he did, and he did that for money. And then there'll be somebody in a bar that played James Taylor tunes and, Carla Bonhoff songs that were popular in the 70s or something. And they did the same thing, not popular music. We're just entertaining to get some money while we were drinking beer or having a salad or something. So when that was my everyday experience of music and street musicians in Athens, or, I played in this desert, tiny little bar out in Beersheba, outside Beersheba in Israel, and that's the music I listened to. So what happened was, the point I'm trying to get to with all this talk, I think I didn't see music as a career move. I didn't see music as other people's career move. I didn't see it as something that this is how you become rich and famous. I saw it as something that this is part of everyday society. This is buying groceries, playing or listening to music, having music when you eat, making a few dollars so I can eat by playing on the streets. Does it make sense what I'm saying? It's just...
All right, Johnny V. Who is that?
But I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's your buddy. That's my interview from 2016 with Anders Osborne.
It is Anders. Okay,
It is Anders, and I wanted, and this is what I want, because we're talking about this molecular, sort of solidification or molecular. The web, especially as it relates to the bandstand, when you connect with someone like Anders, I've talked to other younger cats who have been on the bandstand with him, and he'll get up there, and they won't say more than 2 or 3 words to each other before they start playing. And I kind of wanted you to talk a little bit about the first memories of how you guys. I know he's come to your workshops that you and Deb do for the kids, but musically, how would you, as a musician, how would you describe the Spiderweb with Anders?
No problem. Because I think that he and I don't know what it is but our characteristics of our personality, or I don't know if it's our feelings, but we seem to be very comfortable with each other. You know, not only on the bandstand but off the bandstand. You know, and
Immediate trust, basically.
I think so. Yeah. I think you respected me before we started playing, before I knew it. You know, and when we finally met and played, nothing was said. You know, before we started playing, there was no rehearsal. There was no
So there was no rehearsal.
No rehearsal, no list of songs, no, I'm going to send you this so we can advance and you can listen to it. You know, no PDFs or no MP3s or nothing like that.
No in-ear monitors, nothing like that. Nothing.
No, just see you at the gig and we'll go from there. And no counting off the tune, no nothing, just start playing, you know. And I think that we had that kind of trust, and the music solidified it so much that, you know, Anders and I talk a lot, you know, and then we also don't talk a lot, you know, because I've been on the road with him a lot, you know. So when you're on the road with somebody, you know, you start to see true colors, you know. And I've been on the road with him when he was sort of a different person, and then when he sort of went through some little life changes, he went back out on the road, and I kind of felt as though I needed to keep an eye on him in case he needed to turn to somebody. I wanted to be there, you know, and I think that really strengthened our relationship way more than I anticipated. I think everything between he and I, at least from my point of view, was never planned. Our relationship was never rehearsed or discussed.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I felt as though we both kind of just stood back a step and watched ourselves become friends as well as colleagues. You know, then I did a bunch of music, cut records with him and stuff like that. And so I think with me and Anders, there's a lot of things happened naturally that I think both of us had the sense that we didn't want to step on it, that it was doing fine on its own. Collectively, we were better as collectively than I think we were as individuals when it came to forming any kind of a relationship, whether it be personal or musical, any kind of collaboration. I thought that we both should. I think we both understood that this is, and we never spoke about it. I think we both understood that this little, I hate to use the word magic, this little luck of having compatible characteristics in our personalities, we decided, you know, to let that be a leader as opposed to either us. Relationship was larger than either one of us, so it was capable of driving us through the path.
When you would go in the studio, was it very improv the same way? And also, like, how big a bag of tunes, like that first time you showed up to play, I mean, was it just raw improvisational jamming? I mean, you're the first cat I've ever seen. It was the most...
He had some tunes, you know, but you just keep your ears open, you know, and yeah, you know, if there was a break coming up or something specific, you know, I could catch a signal, or if I didn't get it the first time, if I thought it was coming up again, you know, just a quick look at the eye, one eye to the other, and, you know, then I think I'd know what he'd be talking about, you know. So I think then again too, in the case of the music, I'd say the same. Okay, sweetheart, I'd say the same thing. I thought we saw that the music could take care of itself. he and I, I don't think we had to press or push or over guide. That's not even a word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think we had to. I don't think we had to. I think to do any of that would have disrupted the flow of our multi-dimensional relationship. And by multi-dimensional, I mean the way our friendship grew with talking and not talking, and the way the music was being played. Was more of the collective idea and result I could hear was stronger than me making a decision. I should break here, I should put a fill here, or what's he going to do here? I just I let it figure itself out because I thought it was stronger than me. And that was my system for playing with Anders Osborne. If he's got something specific in the tune and we in the studio, he will teach it to me. Real quick, and I say, "Oh, okay,
Right.
Okay, let's track." Other than that, it was pretty much, but on the bandstand, it was like, whoa, like, okay, is the gate to the playground open yet? you just rush in. You don't know what you're going to do first, but a bunch of kids having fun at the playground,
But actually, your bond strengthened when you just were you let him know that you cared about him as an actual human being, regardless. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah. Because we were on a road, and we were all very discombobulated,
Mm-hmm.
and he was changing and going through changes, and had been through changes, and was now back out there. And I think me being next to him in the next room down the hall was a pretty big band. It was the Voice of the Wetlands, and we were doing one-nighters. And occasionally he and I would, instead of riding in the bus, Anders would say, "I can't stand it. How about, I bought you a ticket already. We're not going to be in a bus tomorrow. We're going to fly from, here to the next gig, and we'll just meet the bus there, at the next gig, because I don't feel like, being in the bus today." So he would buy me a ticket, and both of us would just fly to the next gig.
Wow, that's
10,
cool,
12,
man. Wow.
12-hour bus ride,
I mean,
and he was also not well. He had caught a bad cold, a flu at the time, so I was, I was helping him in a silent way,
in a silent way. Listen to Johnny V, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, it got deep at that point.
Damn.
At that point, it got deep.
Yeah.
And then we do things like, man, it's so hard to get something to eat after this gig. I forget what city we were in, but this theater we played, and it was an Italian restaurant right on the street to the side. And I said, "And this guy's restaurant," I thought, city, and it's late. A lot of things are just not open, and you don't know where's the spot to go. But anyway, I figured out, if I could get my drums packed up before 11, after this big voice, I can leave in there, and you and I can run and right to this little restaurant that's a half a block away. If we go out the back door of the stage and through this alley, we can be, man. As soon as I got to the restaurant, man, the guy clicked the lock on the door, said close, and I said, "Oh man, I thought you said 11, man. It's 10 minutes to 11." But he would put his hands up for another side of glass, like, why the place is empty, so I'm closing early.
Exactly. Yep.
Man, so I don't know how to speak Italian, bro. But I started just talking some Italian shit to him, and the cat opened the door, let us in,
Whoa.
fed us personally, because all the waiters had left. But the guys in the kitchen said, "Well, there's some things I can still make, even though it's closed. I can't turn this on. I already turned it, but and he could make exactly what we wanted. We wanted spaghetti bolognese, and he said, yeah, I can get that together for you, and I can get a good green salad for you together, and we still have some bread, and a bottle of sparkling wine, and some not wine because we were not drinking a bottle of sparkling water, San Pellegrino, and we were still drinking, and things like that. He was very impressed that I could do that.
That's really, these are, I mean,
reopen his, and it just happened to know enough Italian words that this Italian restaurant.
Were you going off on him or were you pleading with him?
And he was on the other side. I'm going, per favore, due musicisti molto fame. Very good. Molto fame.
Hungry, starving, so hungry.
Yeah. Il concerti, the concert was troppo, it was too late, and I said, man, I'm rubbing my belly. I said, man, you're fame.
I mean, the truth is, truth is that you were there at 10:50. You should. I mean, they could have.
Yes.
You were good. That was the key.
I didn't say that though.
No. You used all your Italian.
No, I was just say, man, please, bro. We just played at the theater right there. I knew how to say that word. I knew how to say play. I knew how to say please. Please, I knew how to say. I knew how to get us in the door. Not that you needed to talk Italian, because this guy could talk. He was, he would speak real damn good English. But I just thought I'm gonna pull out all my guns, on this man. I can't speak Italian well, bro. But listen here. Molto fame.
Hey, molto fame, and you got the bolognese and the salad. I mean, you got it, man. Yeah.
Life's
So
a funny thing, but yeah, to get back to the question, me and Anders formed a tight web between us in all ways, on a personal way, on a musical way, on a silent way, and beautiful conversations. And talk about laugh. We could laugh forever.
I wrote down this thing. It's like Anders. It seemed to me that the way you described him is like somebody that you knew forever that you just met. Where it was all the intangibles, the essence, all the stuff that is sort of built into you was already there and didn't need to be spoken about. Was already understood and was worked out. And it was just like you knew each other except you'd never met. Does that happen in music a lot? Is that rare?
I think it's rare. It's precious, and when it happens. Because
it seems to me like you have quite a few. It seems to me that you have. It seems to me that Anders is, he's got his own essence, vibe, and material. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me like you have a lot of relations. Maybe not. I mean, the singles, Dylan, Twerking Out, all these guys, it seems like there's that component of you guys just sort of, obviously been playing for a long time, but the spiritual unison without a lot of verbal communication occurred almost instantly. But maybe I'm wrong.
1,000% right.
Well, I got one more voice to play for you, Johnny V. I think you're really going to love this, and then we'll come back and break it down.
When I look at it now, I'm amazed at how much something was in touch with us. Even around the drugs, I would never use drugs as the excuse for, going in, doing anything or thinking about anything. But I know now, and there's no way in hell without the mind expansion of the acid days. That whole period stopped the war. That was, if it hadn't have stopped, they would have bombed it the same way we did Japan. That I know that now. I mean, I know that there was some expansion that had a lot to do with saving this planet. Woodstock. That was the end of it to me also, because from then on it went back to normal. But at that moment, if it hadn't have been for that mentality of kids 13 and 14 talking about peace, putting flowers in the guns of soldiers, we would have been in real trouble. I know that only that for that moment, acid was what it was for. But because it didn't work after that, believe me, you could take all the acid you wanted, you start having bad trips and shit. After 71, 70, 71, it wasn't no more fun. It was just like any other drug. You overdid it, it either stopped working or you was in trouble, period. Most with acid, it just stopped working.
You want to take a guess who that is?
Wow, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. I mean, it reminds me of somebody.
Who does it remind you of?
But I haven't seen him in a long time, and I'm not. It just reminds me of somebody.
Yeah. You want to wager a guess? You want to wager a guess? I mean, there's no sign stealing here.
Okay, I'll bet you. I'll bet you 5.
Yeah.
I'll bet you 5. I think it's Harold Brown.
That's a great. That is the greatest guess in the world. No, man, that is, and it's fine. I'll take you out for bolognese. That was P-Funk, George Clinton.
Damn, I'll be damned. I never spoke, other than shaking his hand and saying hello, I never spoke to him. But I know everything he's talking about. He reminds me of Harold Brown, the drummer from War.
Well, and Harold and I are, as I am with Johnny V, very good friends. I've been to his place in Long Beach. He's such a badass drummer. Yeah, Harold's a dear friend of mine. Yeah. I mean, all you guys are friends. I mean,
cool.
Yeah, so, I mean.
Cool. George Clinton. No, I never sat down with him, but we would just cross paths in the elevator. In the same hotel.
Yeah, I mean, he's.
Same hotel.
I thought maybe like Parliament would have come down to New Orleans and, the drummer got sick and they're like, well, John, you got just the guy for you, Johnny V,
Yeah. I love George Clinton, man. Yeah. He's pretty right on, and he's been around for a while. How old do you think he is?
He's not young. I'm
70.
Yeah, well, he was to put it in perspective, I'll look it up. But I wanted to ask you, Johnny, I mean, this is definitely not above your pay grade, but were you, he said the Woodstock was kind of the end of LSD in the sense of it just sort of its effect on, we can sort of affect change in the world through nonviolence. And I feel like we're getting to a point now in this country where, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of violence in this year coming up. And and I wanted you to talk a little bit about, not that you were putting daisies in the guns of soldiers and stuff, but, how the way you, because you were in touch with, you were, born and raised in NOLA, but I mean, very heartfelt guy. You had a heart. So how do you, how do you use your heart to affect change in a nonviolent way? Off the bandstand. I mean, I think that's. How do you affect change in your world? Because obviously you do something for a living, and you do gigs for a living, and then you also play spiritual music too. So I guess I'm just looking for some inspiration for some people out there as we move forward, how to deal with violence. When I went back to my interview with Deborah, happy birthday to Deborah, by the way. But when I went back to my
man, I'm gonna tell her you said that.
Big time. Well, I mean, because when she said when the Indian tribes used to congregate on Mardi Gras, they would fight. And it's more. Yeah. So I mean, we've made some progress, but the problem is, right now it's a tempest in a teapot. So I mean, you can riff on that any way you want. I mean, did you see Indian fights, and how did it evolve over time? How did it become peaceful, and how did they learn to appreciate the beauty of their costumes? I mean, how can we just coexist together as a human race?
Yeah, in the days of fighting before my time, I mean, no. The fighting is symbolic now. It's more like dancing in front of one another. And that simulates the fight. there might have been a little pushing and shoving to resolve for the show. I was real careful when I went in those neighborhoods anyway. As a youngster, I'm talking about early '60s, very early '60s.
Mm-hmm.
Late '50s or early '60s. Is when I had my bicycle and dare go in that neighborhood and keep moving. You go in circles, but keep moving. White boy in a project.
Eternal motion,
cool.
eternal motion. Yeah, never stop.
But if you're young enough and they know you there just to appreciate the beauty of it, they won't fuck you up. So I saw the beauty of it in the latter years, when fighting was not necessary. They were more into like having the prettiest costume or having a pretty my suit, having a nice, you want to be proud of your suit, and everybody's proud, and the fighting thing is ancient, and I never saw anybody fighting during Mardi Gras, between Indian tribes, just love.
Did the Flower Power movement or the Woodstock movement make its way to the doorstep of Johnny Vidacovich?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
There was no there. Astral Project never made it to Woodstock, or anything like that.
No, we should have. We should have, but we at that time we were still in our baby stages of formation of the Astral Project, and it was a little pre-Astral Project, I think. I think I was actually, when that went down, I think I was playing drums at the Playboy Club 6 nights a week. I think.
Hugh Hefner. Did Hefner come in? Did Hefner come in?
I never met Hugh Hefner. No, he didn't come to the one in New Orleans when I was there. Well, what year was Woodstock?
69.
Yeah, I was working at the Playboy Club 6 nights a week. I remember, and the movie came out shortly then, and I remember going to the Sanger Theater with a bunny. One of the girls who worked at the club, and I was, I think I was maybe 20 years old. Yeah, I was 20 years old, and I kissed her.
Freedom, free love. That was true. That was part of it, man.
Yeah, Susan Krager, man. I'll never forget.
Wow, Bonnie, dude, you must be making great dough at that time. 6 nights a week at the Playboy Club. That is fantastic.
Oh man, I had the best job in town, bro. I was making more than at that time. Pete Fountain and Al Hurt both had a club on Bourbon Street at that time.
Oh, are you kidding? Wait, 2 different clubs, or they had the club together?
Each had their own club.
Oh, that is so classic. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And I was working at the Playboy Club, which was also a jazz quartet. And you had in every 2 weeks there was a different singer and a different comedian. They were on the circuit, they go from Playboy Club to Playboy Club all over the world. So, and they usually come like twice a year. I don't know how many comics there were, but I don't know how many singers there were. But I had to play a different show. Some didn't. Some got off the stage. Come back at the end and play a short tune and say good night. And some had just a little funny music you would have to play, and it'd be written out. I'd have to read it. Everything would be rehearsed on when they first arrived for their 2-week stay on a Monday afternoon, and then you played for 2 weeks, 6 nights, Sunday off, and then the next singer and the next comedian would come, and I did this for 5 years. And I think I took 1 week off.
Of the whole year?
The whole time. Yeah, and I didn't ask for it.
Wow.
Alberletto said, here's a credit card. Which city do you want to go to? And I said, well, I don't want to take off. He says, why don't you take off, John? You know. He said, I say, I'm cool, coach. You know, I'm not that hard. He said, take off, man. Enjoy yourself, you know. So I took the Playboy Club, and I had a friend going to Berkeley at the time, Berkeley School of Music in Boston. So I said, yeah, all right. So Boleto said, hey, all right, so here's his credit card for having fun, and they tell me where you want to go, and I'll make sure that if there's a Playboy Club in that city, that they'll be expecting you, and you know, and to. So I went to Boston, and me and my friend went to the Playboy Club and had steaks and watched the show, and we got drunk and went out, and you know, that was, you know, anyway. What was the point?
Nothing. The point. The point is that you were playing all different types of music. And
jazz with older men, and I was very lucky because I was making actually my money. I was making more money than cats and like the Blue Room, which was in the Fairmont Hotel at that time. It was called the Roosevelt, the Blue Room Orchestra. You know, did the same thing. They'd have an act come in for a week, you know, and it was a bigger band now. But I mean, I was making more money than Pete Fountain's drummer, than Al Hurd's drummer, than the drummer at the Blue Room. I was making more money, and those were considered the big paying gigs, you know. I mean, or the big gigs, and I was making more money. You know, I was lucky, man, and I was young, and I could do all the work. I could play shows, and I had to play jazz. And I had auditioned for the gig and didn't get it. This was before what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. So the guy that got it, I went on his gig when he left his gig to go to the Playboy Club.
Right. What was his gig?
I went on his gig. Which is a quartet jazz gig at a bistro, place called the Bistro. It was bistro, and it was a very nice club. You backed up two singers, and you played a lot of jazz. It was 5 sets, and I was playing with great musicians, man. And I played his gig while he played the Playboy Club. Then when I got out of the draft, I went with one of these singers from the bistro to Las Vegas. Because he was a soldier and he was getting out of the draft, and I mean he was fixing to end his stay with the army, and he told me one night on a gig, he says, Johnny, I'm going to Vegas, and would you consider going and play drums with me in Las Vegas? And I got a 6-month gig at the Flamingo. I said, man. And I had already been to Vegas and worked with Wayne Cochran and the C.C. Riders.
You did?
Oh yeah. This was like in 19. I would say I was 18, turning 19. Yeah, I was 18, turning 19. So that must have been like 1968. And anyway, so I couldn't stay because the draft board sent me another draft notice, and it was all Vietnam shit. You know, I was constantly getting drafted, and I was constantly getting out of it. But I was having a problem because I had to keep a 2.5 grade average, and let's face it, probably between you and me, might be a C- student.
Yeah, me too. I'm like a B-. Wait, hold on. What grade? You were in high school at this? Wait. Where were you going? Where were you going?
I made the honor roll and all. I had the highest scores in algebra. Concerned with staying out of the draft.
I just want to be clear, though. Were you going to Tulane or like New Orleans University?
Loyola.
Yeah, so yeah, I would have gotten like C's and D- and it's just for ivory tower people, man. Yeah, you got to trust your gut, your intuition, your instinct. That's the Johnny Vidacovich model, man.
Yeah. I had a plan. It all worked out, you know. So anyway, the second time going back to Vegas, this the guy singer who asked me to go, he said, "Oh man, I really wish you could go with me to Vegas. I would love you to be the drummer." I said, "Man, Tony, I would pack my bags in a paper bag and be ready tomorrow morning. Let's go to Vegas." I said, "But Tony, I got this problem. And he says, what? I said, I'm draftable, and they keep sending me notices that they're going to draft me unless I keep a 2.5 average. I said, Tony, I don't want to go in the Army, and I said I can't quit school to go to Vegas because I'll get drafted. And he says, well, I'm still in the Army now. And as a matter of fact, I didn't know this about you, but I wish you would have told me soon. He says, I work at the induction center downtown. And I said, what can we do, Tony? He says, well, tomorrow. He says, I'm gonna get you out of the draft. He says, tomorrow I want you to come down there at 6:30 and go right up to the Army man at the desk and join the Army. And he says, he says you're gonna go through a bunch of tests. And then I'm going to come and get you when it's time. I'm going to come get you and pull you out of the line and take you to this doctor's office, and this doctor is going to make you not draftable.
Wow.
So,
I love this stuff. This is unreal, man.
He how the story turned out?
I am dying.
You got a minute?
Yeah, dude, riff on it, man. Yeah.
All right, check this out.
Yeah.
So, I'm very excited. I get up fucking 6 o'clock, man, and I go, man, down to the Army Induction Center on Canal Street, down at the end of the canal, big building, big federal building. I go up in there, and I go right up to the Army guy. I say, I want to join the Army. He says, sit down. I sat down. He gave me some papers. I signed the papers. He says, okay, now we got to test you. He says, go to floor number 1 and go to this guy's going to. So it's a series of tests, So I'm sitting in the class, and I haven't seen my friend Tony yet. You're
bugging out a little bit. Yeah, you're starting to bug out a little bit.
Yeah, but it's a long process.
Yeah, no.
So you go in this room, you take this test. You go in this room, you take this test. You go in another room, and they check your knees. You go in another room, and blah, blah, blah. And more tests. So now it's getting to be around noon, and I'm there about 6 hours, and they get into the part where there's about 60 of us too, and we're in a big room, and they say, everybody drop your pants, drop your drawers, look forward, and this doctor goes down the line, and he's looking for hernias or anything wrong, looks wrong, so basically hernias, so then the guy says, everybody turn around, 180 and bend over. And so I said, man, now it's like 1 o'clock. I haven't seen Tony, and I'm thinking, at 11:30, I was thinking, man, where the fuck is Tony, man? I keep looking around and I'm taking these tests.
Getting anally probed. Yeah, it's unreal, man.
Now I got my pants and my drawers down to my ankles. I haven't seen Tony. By now, I'm already thinking, man, he fucked me up.
Right, he
man.
fucked you, man. He fucked you, yeah.
Man, stinking, man. This really fucking stinks, man. And this doctor's, looking at people's assholes and shit.
Yeah, you're getting anally probed. Where's Tony, man?
Here I am in this long line. I'm bent over with my ass. And just fucking, I get tapped on the shoulder, man. And the voice says, come with me, son. And I turn around, and it's fucking Tony, man. He's smiling from the ear. And I pulled up my pants. He took me in his doctor's office. This doctor wrote chronic hemorrhoids, chronic this and chronic that, 4F.
Unfit for duty. Yeah, totally unfit.
It was go to his bottom drawer and pull out a bottle of bourbon, and me and him, Tony, had a glass of bourbon, and wow. I went to Las Vegas with Tony.
Johnny, let's pick it up.
And then, okay.
No, hold on. We got it. Let's do part 2. I got another.
Get you back to the Playboy Club.
Okay, so because I have another interview coming up, but can we do this in a couple of days? I'm having a ball, but I'm up against the clock.
I can say this in 1 minute.
Do it.
Say this in 1 minute.
Do it.
Okay, so while I was in Las Vegas, I got called by Al Boletto, the guy that I auditioned for earlier, 6 months ago.
Right.
6 months ago, I auditioned for the gig, didn't get it. The other guy got it, who's blah, 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 blah. And so I get this phone call from Al Boletto saying, we've changed our minds. We want you to be the drummer.
Unbelievable.
I said, wow, man. I said, what a bummer. I said, as soon as I finish this gig, my plans are to go to Los Angeles because I wanted to become a studio. I wanted to get in the studio drumming. This is I'm talking about 1969, 1970.
I'm totally with you, man. I'm with you everywhere. I'm with you.
I don't want to come back to New Orleans. And he said, man, the gig pays this much, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, that's good money and everything, but, now I'm out of the draft. I can pursue my dreams. I want to go to California. I want to study with Shelly Manne. I want to become a studio drummer. And he says, oh, man, you sure you want? And he hangs up and calls me back the next day with a bigger number, and I just had to come back home. And I said, yes, I'll do it. And I became the house drummer at the Playboy Club and played with the best quartet in town and made the best money. And
I'm looking at it thinking
women.
Between the jazz quartet with two singers, getting out of the Army, going to Vegas, coming back to the Playboy Club. Johnny Vidacovich you were flush at that point, having a ball. And Johnny, I just want to tell you, man, I love you, man, so much, and I want to thank you for always going there with me, and maybe I'll be down in New Orleans soon enough to see you, but let's try to hop on and continue this conversation soon, man. I always love hanging with you.
Man, you bring out the best in both of us, man. That's a beautiful thing. I love you.
Yeah, man. Much love to you and the family. You hang in there.
Okay, man.
Yeah. Love always,
Good
dude.
luck. Don't forget my number. Give me a call.
Yeah, you're in my second book, so we'll be in touch.
All right, so.
Love always, Johnny. Be good. Say hi to Deb. Happy birthday. Bye-bye.
I will, man. Okay, man.
Be cool,
peace
brother.
Peace out, go to work.
Yeah, peace out, brother. Peace.
Right.
Yeah. Legend, Johnny Vidacovich. What a class act. And a guy who has just given his heart and soul to everybody he's ever known in his life. We'll be back with Boshra Asadi after this.